What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Aaron Nix, and I'm back to discuss WWE Raw on the Wrestle Plug YouTube channel. Apologies, it's been a little quiet the last couple of days. Personal health notwithstanding, I am still here, and I am still good to go, and I will be until they put me in the fucking ground. It's as simple as that. So, buckle up if you want a genuinely honest opinion, because this is the channel that will do just that. Now, WWE Raw actually wasn't terrible, and it has been pretty terrible for a while now. Was it fantastic? No, but it did give us some stuff that we wanted. Now, at the top of the show, obviously Bobby Lashley comes down with MVP. I'm big, strong champion. I can kill everybody. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, cool, whatever. We've heard this a million times, but I get exactly what you're trying to do. Then The Miz comes down and tries to curry favor because he's a little bitch. John Morrison, by the way, noticeable limp. I don't know if he's injured, but they've decided to keep him on TV because he hasn't really done a great deal since that United States Championship match. But yeah, poor old John Morrison looking a little bit haggard, if I'm being honest. He does. He looks a little bit haggard. He looks knackered, bless him. Of course, The Miz is trying to connive his way into a match at WrestleMania, and then Drew McIntyre comes down, completely ignores The Miz, and we get more big, I'm big and I'm bad and I can whoop your ass, man. Just, big men yelling at each other. And of course, all hell kind of breaks loose very quickly. There's a brawl between the two big guys. Then Sheamus comes down, who's apparently going to face Drew McIntyre at Fastlane. Drew McIntyre has already been announced, by the way, as the #1 contender to Bobby Lashley's WWE title. Okay. I'll get into that in a second. Sheamus even tees off on Bobby Lashley for a bit. So it's just meaty hosses all over the place. And that's, of course, because the main event of this show is Bobby Lashley versus Sheamus. But I want to get into this WWE title thing. Full disclosure, as always, I've always got a hot take and I've always got an honest opinion. I personally think it's bullshit the way they've booked this. Now, do I want to see Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania? Absolutely. Got no problem with that. However, this is why people don't like Raw. And this is why people don't respect you or your creative at WWE, especially when it comes to WWE Raw. Because where was the build-up to this? Where was the, are we just saying, okay, this is his rematch because he lost, to The Miz, who was Money in the Bank champion? Okay. So him and Sheamus have been in this fantastic rivalry, actually. I think that they've had some incredible matches. The problem is they've already had way too many good matches. So I don't know what they can possibly do at Fastlane that's going to be better than what they've already done. Then you factor in the fact that this match doesn't mean anything. Could you not have waited 1 week and said, the winner of this match will face Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania? And people will say, yeah, but we already know that Sheamus isn't going to blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, that's fine. I understand that. But it is still a story. And you have to give us storylines to get to the completion of said story. That's how it works in every single medium and format. So just coming out at the beginning of the show, just so you know, it will be Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. Okay. And also, the fact is, Drew keeps coming out and saying how I'm a champion and I want to earn my place and I want to be in the main event of WrestleMania, blah, blah, blah. And it almost feels like it was just handed to him based on the fact that he was one of the former champions. It's hard for me to suspend my disbelief enough to think, okay, I just don't care enough. Whereas Roman Reigns versus Edge on the other show is building so well, and you don't know whether possibly Daniel Bryan might be, inserted into the rivalry, and he is at the moment, but he'll likely be swept aside at Fastlane. But the reality is that you're emotionally invested in what you're watching on SmackDown and Raw. No. And when you've got 3 hours, there's no excuse for that. This is the longest wrestling show in the world, in terms of weekly wrestling that isn't a pay-per-view. And yet, you don't give us any strong storylines. It's lazy booking. It's poor. It really annoys me because I feel like Drew McIntyre deserves better as well. And he's worked his arse off to get to this position. How hard would it have been to say, yeah, the winner at Fastlane gets a title shot? Because Drew McIntyre's probably going to go over. So why not? Just give us that little bit more. Nah, fuck it. They've got to spunk it early because they're so desperate to try and claw back ratings on what is basically an average to terrible TV show for the majority of the time. Now, the stuff in between, once again, some of it's good, some of it's shit. I liked Asuka coming back and trying to extract a bit of revenge from Shayna Baszler during the women's tag team match that she was at ringside for. Nice to see that Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose won, which means that they're likely going to get a tag title shot next after Fastlane. Don't want to see Lana and Naomi as a tag team. I think Naomi deserves to be a single star. I think Naomi should be lined up as one of Asuka's potential contenders for the title at WrestleMania, and instead she's just fucking around with Lana, who, with all due respect, looks fantastic, but is a fucking awful wrestler, and nobody's going to tell me otherwise. Has she improved? Absolutely. But if you watch the match, for instance, when she was in the ring with Mandy Rose, there were a lot of times where her offense, she'd either go for the offense before, it was just terrible. Like, she wasn't even bumping properly. Now, some of that was on Mandy Rose, to be fair. She was bumping too early before Lana got there for the move, which just looks so fake and so shitty. And that annoys me. But Lana, in general, offense just doesn't look meaningful. She very much looks like someone who is cosplaying a wrestler, not being a wrestler. So she's doing the moves, but they've got no meaning. They've got no outlet. They've got no potential. They are just moves, and they're not done with any kind of emotional character, and because of that, I find her unbearable. Not to mention that her character is just pathetic and whingy and useless, and I'm supposed to get behind her, but actually I just see her as a bit of a melt, so I've got no time for it. I don't care. That being said, Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose as number one contenders for the tag titles, I am quite happy about that because it feels like a fresh tag team. And also, I feel like Dana Brooke at this point really deserves something. Maybe not a main event caliber spot, but I feel like she's worked hard enough and deserves to be in this position. So it'd be nice to see what they can do coming out of Fastlane, because you've got to think that the tag team champions aren't going to be sacrificed to Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks for the sake of their WrestleMania rivalry. At least you hope not. Although you never trust WWE. We do, however, on the other side of the tag team division, the men's tag team division, we have new tag team champions. Scorpion and Sub-Zero have reached the summit. I love their gear, by the way. And also, who doesn't love the New Day? Come on. They are so professional and so good on a show that is mediocre at best. And they come out and have a world-class match with two excellent workers, as to be said, in Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. Don't care about their characters. They feel like utter afterthoughts of the Hurt Business, especially now that Bobby Lashley is WWE Champion. In fact, I would argue that Bobby Lashley becoming WWE Champion has probably hurt their stock a little bit more, because it makes them look even more irrelevant. And now they certainly look irrelevant because they have lost their tag team titles to the now 11-time tag team champions, the New Day. Now, this is the good and the bad of Raw. You got a great match. You got world-class tag team champions. I love the New Day. They should be your tag team champions because, let's be honest, there's nobody else available. And the case in point there is, of course, their next challengers will be AJ Styles and Omos. Why? Like, AJ Styles does a reasonably good enough job on the mic. He says, okay, well, I'm kind of getting a bit thin on the bucket list. I've done everything else around here. One of the few things I haven't done is been a tag team champion on Raw, so sure, why not? And Omos here, he needs a match, right? Maybe they're worried that Omos doesn't stand out enough as a single star yet, or they need to build his credibility, but this isn't a match that I'm overly invested in. Am I excited to see what Omos can do in the ring? Absolutely, because he's a fucking Leviathan. And all four guys have, three guys are world class. We're talking about three of the best wrestlers WWE has had of the modern era in AJ Styles and the New Day. And Omos, even though he's not necessarily a legendary wrestler, at least we don't know yet, he does have so much potential and he does have a real allure just because of his size. I just think it's a bit disappointing that right now, if you look at the tag team divisions, there aren't many credible actual tag team matches going on, and this just shows. And I'd love to be able to say, oh, well, it doesn't matter because AEW's tag team division is stacked. It is, but they're just not using it properly. Although I would much rather see Pac and Phoenix versus the Young Bucks than I would this match, just because I find it difficult to be emotionally invested in this. The New Day, of course, rightfully point out on the mic, dude, you're not even registered as a tag team. Okay, that kind of nips that one in the bud pretty quick. Cheers for that, lads. But I'm sure it'll be a fine match. It's just right now, I think, I would have liked to have seen an actual tag team, but this is the problem, The Street Profits are now over on SmackDown. The Viking Raiders are injured. You just don't really have anything going on. You've got Aleister Black and Ricochet doing nothing. Could you not have brought them back as a tag team? They were really popular in NXT and on Raw. No reason why you couldn't have given them a little push here. But, I guess Aleister Black's probably being punished because his missus got fired. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. And frankly, I don't care. I just feel like this isn't the best use of your tag team champions. We don't have a new United States champion, unfortunately, because Matt Riddle retained his title against Mustafa Ali, thanks to somewhat of a distraction from Teabag. don't really care about Retribution. I think we're getting very close to the breakup now, and it's a shame that they've used this as a vehicle to further that breakup. I actually think Mustafa Ali would have been a fantastic United States champion. He's working hard and he's cutting great promos. Unfortunately, most of them are on social media because WWE won't give him any time. And it's hard not to feel that this isn't something to do with the fact that he is one of the very few Muslim wrestlers on the roster. And I know people are going to say, oh, that's just you being stupid and jaded and whatever. But as a guy of Middle Eastern descent, I would like to see a Middle Eastern champion at some point. And this was an opportunity to do that. And they didn't give me that. Why is it okay for everyone else to yell about representation, but we're not? Oh, that's right. Because everybody thinks that, you know, people of Middle Eastern descent are all terrorists. Let's be honest. We also got a continuation of Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman. I don't fucking care. And I care even less because, astonishingly, Braun Strowman got decked. So he got his match with Shane McMahon, okay? Then it descends into fast a little bit. Shane McMahon obviously uses a camera to get one up on Braun Strowman, and then, you know, he's got to get his spot over. He's got to do his leap of faith, his elbow drop into the announce table. Great, that's all very well and good, but I do not give a shit. I don't care about this rivalry. Neither guy is working well on the mic here. This is a terrible use of Braun Strowman. He should be facing a Moss at WrestleMania. Instead, we're going to get Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman in a match that I do not fucking care about because they've got no clue what to do. And also, Shane McMahon has got a fucking ego like nobody's business. I mean, he is a McMahon. But, you know, this smacks of, look, Daddy, look, I can leap off of something. I'm still going to impress you. And Vince is like, I don't give a shit. You're my least favorite child. Fuck you. Like, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, and nobody really cares. And this is exactly why people will not sit down and tune into Raw and why its ratings are dropping, because nobody gives a shit about Shane McMahon on their TV screen at the best of times, much less his terrible promos. You would think a guy who has been around the business for as long as he has would know how to cut a promo by now, but he doesn't. He's awful on the microphone. He sweats like nobody's business. Honestly, Shane McMahon sweats so much, it's like he's on the parole board. It's very, very strange. He just constantly sweats. Even when he's not moving, it's dripping off of him. I don't know what happens. Maybe he just takes a shower right before he comes out. But either way, I do not give a fuck about this rivalry. It's terrible, and I've got no interest in it. And I'll tell you what, it's my piss break match at WrestleMania. As soon as this comes on, great. I'll probably go and have a shit and a snack. Not in that order, obviously. Gross. Anyway, the main event was good, to be fair. Classic Raw, actually. Opening part of Raw was great. End of Raw was great. Everything in between was, give or take. Pick what you like, pick what you don't like. That's kind of what happens when you have a 3-hour show. Bobby Lashley and Sheamus. Oh, shock horror. Sheamus has the best match of the night, once again. At what point do we realise that Sheamus is actually good? That he's actually really fucking good, that he's a pay-per-view worthy and high caliber athlete. He should be getting a big high profile match at WrestleMania, and if he doesn't, I'm going to be disappointed. I really am, because he's the guy putting in the work every week and helping keep this show afloat with great matches against really good talent. Him and Drew McIntyre have had back-to-back weeks of world-class matches, and his match here with Bobby Lashley was excellent. One of the better matches I've seen Bobby Lashley have in a long time. Big meaty hoss clash, two whopping great units slapping each other around, and ultimately it's Bobby Lashley who gets the win, just about. And then of course right at the end of the match, Drew McIntyre decides to insert himself and give poor old Lashers the big old Claymore out of the ring, and then he kind of stares down Sheamus because they're going to face each other this weekend at Fastlane. Okay, great. Also, it's very weird, the continuity of the storytelling. Now, I like this ending, thought it was fine. However, why is Drew McIntyre and Sheamus not trying to tear each other's heads off yet again? Literally last week, they almost tried to murder each other with the steel steps. This week, I'm just going to stare at you. Oh, okay. Doesn't mean anything. I know you don't want to give too much away going into Fastlane, but at the same time, Fastlane, mate. Like, this is supposed to be one of your bigger pay-per-view matches, and you're just like, yeah, it's like a whimper, you know? They don't know how to go home anymore. Do you remember the old WWF Raws and SmackDowns where there used to be a go-home show before a pay-per-view and it was electric and they'd have brawls and breakouts and big, heavy money main events that led in nicely to the main events of the actual pay-per-views? No longer that, just a couple of meaty lads looking at each other, you know, with a slightly sexual demeanour. Whatever. Okay, it is what it is. Once again, Raw. Well, it wasn't 4 out of 10 like it was last week. I would say this Raw was ever so slightly above average. 5 out of 10. Well done, lads. Not too shabby. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to buy a t-shirt, it's wrestleplug.bigcartel.com if you're on the European front, and if you're in North America, you should definitely try your luck with prowrestlingtees.com/wrestleplug. And don't forget also, we are very, very close to 300 subs, and when we get to that point, it's free tea or free art time. So let your friends know that. Let your friends know, because as soon as we hit 300, it's going to be a giveaway. Ladies and gentlemen, before I go, one more thing as well. Episode 500 of our podcast drops this Friday on our 4-year anniversary, and I highly encourage you to send in your questions. You can ask us anything you like at WrestlePlug, and I will do a special Q&A. Honestly, anything. You want to know my experiences in wrestling, who I like, who I don't like, doesn't matter, whatever. You throw in the questions at WrestlePlug, wherever you want to find us on social media, and I will answer them this Friday on a very special YouTube Q&A. So that is definitely something you will want to check out. But thank you very much for supporting us throughout all of this time and difficulty, and I will catch you very soon for more content from the WrestlePlug.